My name is Magda Gross. I have a Ph.D. from Stanford in education, and I am the education content and curriculum producer here at Adobe. Today, I'll be walking you through the Adobe Distance Learning resources. First, go ahead and write in edX.adobe.com/distance learning. And you will land on this page, Adobe Distance Learning Resources. It has about 5 shelves. I'll quickly go over the shelves and then dive into each one in detail. First, you'll see a shelf called Courses, Articles, and Blogs, where we have both Adobe online courses as well as courses, articles, and blogs curated for you from across the internet. We also have done the same for events and webinars. We've really found the best of the best from across the internet for you to take advantage of. We have posted higher education projects and creativity that make distance learning engaging, K-12 projects for those of you that are elementary or high school teachers, as well as resources to support young learners from across the web. These are for parents or for teachers. We have well-being resources for educators because we know this is a very difficult time, and free tutorials for every single one of our Adobe Creative Cloud software programs. Let's dive deeper into each shelf in detail. So first, you'll see that we have the Adobe blog, which is updated weekly, letting you know what Adobe is doing for school districts. We also updated our Flipped Learning for Your Classroom class. It's completely free. You'll enroll in it and you can get 3 hours of continuing ed credit from your principal. If you're K-12, for a faculty member, it'll just be helpful. There are 3 sections: the Introduction to Flipped Learning section, which has both text, links to blogs, interviews with experts, and videos from across the web of how to really get started flipping learning in your classroom. Then we have examples of projects you can do at every level, and then additional resources and the assignment at the end. Again, once completed, you can get up to 3 hours of continuing ed credit from your school or principal. In the events and webinars, we post both upgoing, ongoing, and on-demand webinars from across the web. One good example is the ISTE EdSurge webinar that happens every Tuesday, actually, about how faculty at colleges should respond to the coronavirus. We'll be updating these weekly and starting a webinar series ourselves that will later be hosted on our YouTube Adobe Education channel. We've created higher ed projects that make distance learning engaging. Let's go closely into one. You'll not only get a quick summary of the activity, but you will also get sample student work, instructor overview, assignment prompt, and a lesson plan, and that's for faculty or maybe late high school. K-12 projects, you'll see we have secondary and primary. Let's go into an example of a math one. These we've actually all adapted them for flipped learning. So you'll get a lesson plan, an adapted lesson plan for flipped learning, a project tutorial, some kind of a planning sheet or graphic organizer, as well as a student sample. Resources to support young learners are from all across the web. So we have, for example, daily drawing activities with Mo Willems is one of my favorites. My son uses this. It's from the author of Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. He sits students through 20 minutes of a drawing activity every day at lunch, Monday through Friday, free, online, ready to stream. But we also have other examples. So Khan Academy put a list of schedules together for parents who are teaching at home, PBS Kids, Scholastic, NPR, just really curated for you the best of the best from across the web. We also have posted well-being resources for educators, as we know this is a very difficult time for you. So there's resources on keeping the greater good in mind amidst COVID, how to help you feel a little bit less anxious and clear-headed during this time, how to care for your school community, self-care resources, and more. And these will be updated weekly. And finally, of course, dive deeper with digital literacy. There's a tutorial for absolutely every single one of our softwares in the Creative Cloud that you can use. These are absolutely free. Enjoy. I can't wait to talk with Emily in the next portion of this webinar about Adobe Distance Learning resources and some of the decisions her marketing team made in putting this together as well with us. So stay tuned. Welcome to Adobe's webinar series for distance learning. I'd love for you to tell the audience who you are, introduce yourself, and how you came to education and how you came to Adobe.
Awesome. Thanks, Magda. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Chesbrough, Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Adobe for Education team for K-12 education, primary and secondary education worldwide. I'm a former educator, and I really love teaching with technology, and now I'm at Adobe helping to share that love with others.
You also earned your master's in educational technology, is that right? You want to tell us a little bit about your projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of my background, I got my master's in education in technology, innovation, and education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So that really helps to ground a lot of the work I do at Adobe, and just in general has given me some insight that I think is helpful to share, especially during times like these.
Great, thank you. So Emily, you partnered with us as we developed this distance learning page in Adobe Education Exchange. Can you share some of the goals and the high-level ideas behind this resource page?
Yeah, absolutely. So Adobe launched this new distance learning resources hub on the Adobe Education Exchange for both K-12 and higher education educators who are looking for help creating meaningful distance learning experiences, predominantly due to the COVID-19 situation that's going on around the world today. The platform includes different aspects of how to approach online and distance learning, including things like courses, articles, and resources on distance learning, creative projects using Adobe tools that are well suited for distance and online learning, and interactive talks and webinars hosted by Adobe employees and members of the community, both live and on demand, to help share best practices. The platform is also going to hopefully provide a supportive educator community to ease this transition to digital learning and hopefully make it fun, engaging, and creative in the middle of these trying times.
Thank you. Is there a webinar other than ours right now that you're particularly excited about in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, there's a bunch that are coming up on the Resources Hub. I think one that I'm really excited for is one of our head evangelists for Adobe for Education, Tanya Averith, is going to be hosting a webinar recording for getting started with Adobe Spark, which I think is really great for folks of all ages and all demographics who want to get started on Adobe Spark and maybe want to use this as an opportunity to start to learn more about that process. And then another one that I think is also going to help folks for teaching both K-12 and higher ed is a online webinar we're doing on how to run your college class online with video conferencing and your learning management system. And that's, I think, the guest on that is Dr. Shannon Pufall, and she's a lecturer in creative writing at Stanford. So we're really excited to have her there for that as well.
Yes, we know her personally. Wonderful. I know you've been talking to a lot of teachers and hearing the conversations educators are having on social media. What are you hearing from teachers, and how did that guide the decisions that you made while thinking about creating this page?
The team has definitely been hearing a lot of feedback from educators around the world, from kindergarten through college and university. Overall, we're hearing a lot of the same themes. The COVID situation evolved really rapidly around the world, and schools are closing to protect students and educators, sometimes pretty abruptly. As a result, educators are being asked to provide online and distance learning opportunities to help their students continue their education in the midst of a crisis. However, really understandably, teachers are finding it really challenging to change a course mid-flight from an in-person offering to an online offering, and many educators have never taught online courses before, making it even more challenging. So we're hearing a lot of educator voices saying that they're concerned for themselves and for their students, that they're frustrated at the situation, feeling really overwhelmed. But there are some positive things too. Like I think a lot of educators are coming together and showing solidarity, and really sharing resources and creating a community around themselves and their peers to work together to address the situation. So from our end, as members of Adobe, we really want to help prepare and provide more resources and access to digital and online learning resources, tips and tricks from those who have done this before, and really make sure that we're creating a place for folks to come to us and get help in a way that feels useful to them.
That's great. And I love how much concern Adobe has for teachers and educators, faculty, kindergarten teachers, sixth grade teachers, folks teaching 20-year-olds in higher education. So talk to me a little bit about that empathy-driven design choices for the distance learning page, and how did you even come to prioritize that in the first place?
Absolutely. So I think a lot of how we designed this page came from the fact that the people building the page are former educators for K-12 and for higher ed. And we really feel for the people, a lot of them are our peers and former coworkers who have been put in a really tough situation. So we designed this page around how we want educators to feel when they leave the page. Above all, the most important thing for educators right now is your health and your wellness. And we understand that the task at hand is tremendous. How do teachers serve the needs of their students, their family, their friends, and themselves in this moment of need? So we wanted to lead the way and show educators ways to try to keep the balance. We have courses on the Resources Hub on things like mindfulness, self-care, and making sure that educators enter the transition feeling like they've got this. We really hope that educators find the resources on the page that help them tackle this crisis, whether that is in the classroom or just at home, trying to create a sense of normalcy in this time of chaos.
That's great. And tell us a little bit about how often the page is updated.
Yeah, so I think a few things that are important to know are that the resources page is being updated weekly, so there's always new content. So check back every week to see new material coming for you in your classroom. We're having webinars as frequently as 3 times a week, so check back to see our webinar schedule on the page. We're also, just to save you some time on the page, we're curating some of the best content we're finding from our partners and collaborators, folks like ISTE, UNESCO, and others. So just to save you some time surfing the web, we'll be adding some of those resources to the page as well as part of those weekly updates. One other thing to add is we're now adding information for parents of young learners as well. So we have a whole new shelf coming just dedicated to parents and their learning experience at home. I think the key thing to know is that there's always new material on the page. So just keep checking back to see the newest from us.
Great. And how can folks who are watching this or otherwise give feedback on what they want to see on this page?
Yeah, great question. So we really want to hear from you, the educators on the ground going through this, because as we've mentioned, this is a pretty unprecedented situation. And we want to make sure that we're answering your questions now that you have and making all the content as relevant as we possibly can. So to do that for us, at the end of this webinar, we're going to send you guys an email, and there's going to be some survey questions in the email. And 2 of the questions are, what would you like to see us add to the distance learning page? And what are some of the challenges you're facing that we could help address? So if you have some burning ideas on your mind, if you could fill out those survey questions, you'll see resources coming up that'll probably meet some of those needs. So that's one way to give us feedback.
Thank you, Emily. Is there anything you'd like to ask or final words you'd like to say before we sign off?
Mostly I just want to say to everybody out there, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And I hope you find something on this page that makes your day a little easier.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. You just attended a webinar on how to use our distance learning page at Adobe Education Exchange. Thanks again.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the description below to explore more free online professional development, and click the link on screen to subscribe to the channel for more videos.